Welcome to Star Watch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. 2 shadows, 1 fire, and a night that nobody was supposed to see. Just when people thought the internet had already witnessed every possible celebrity moment. 1 quiet mountain photo turned everything upside down. Not a red carpet glance, not a stage duet, not a flashy paparazzi chase, but something far rarer than all of that. A blurred image of 2 figures sitting beside a campfire, and the entire fandom instantly lost its mind. And here's the part that makes it even more electric. Fans believe those 2 silhouettes are Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan. Now, before we go any further, remember, this is based on a viral photo and online discussion. Nothing has been officially confirmed. But the reason it matters isn't just who it is, it's what the moment represents. So let's talk about why this single campfire scene felt like a thunderclap for millions of people. A blurry photograph should not be able to move millions of people. And yet this one did. Perhaps because, in a world where celebrity life is endlessly polished, anything that looks unpolished feels like truth. The photo offers almost nothing in technical terms. No clear faces, no crisp details, no context. But emotionally, it offers everything. A small campfire, 2 figures close enough to share warmth. A mountain night so quiet you can almost hear it. Viewers are not drawn in by what they can see. They're drawn in by what they can feel. There's a strange tenderness in the stillness. No stage lighting, no staff hovering nearby, no choreographed interaction. Just 2 people sitting in the dark, letting a flame do what words cannot. The internet is used to consuming celebrities as spectacle, but this scene refuses spectacle. It is ordinary in the most radical way. It suggests tired bodies finally unclenching, guarded hearts finally exhaling. And because it is ordinary, it becomes precious. People who have followed their journeys for years recognize the weight behind a quiet night. They know how rare it is for 2 public figures to be alone without performing. Even neutral viewers sense it. This isn't content designed for them. It's a moment that happened despite them. That's why it lands so deeply. It feels accidental and therefore honest. A tiny human pause, captured for a second, and then multiplied across the world as a reminder that peace is still possible, even for those who live under constant noise. Fandoms don't react like strangers. They react like people who have memorized 1,000 small truths. When a photo surfaces, fans are not starting from zero. They are comparing it to years of memory. That's why certainty rushed in so fast. The height difference, the line of the shoulders, the cut of a jacket, a familiar curve of posture. These are not random shapes to a devoted audience. They are signatures. What looks like speculation from the outside often feels like recognition from within. People have seen Wang Yibo's ways of sitting when he's cold or focused, the slightly guarded hunch, the way he tucks warmth inward. They have seen Xiao Zhan's body soften when he's safe, leaning just a little towards comfort. So when 2 silhouettes carry those same quiet habits, fans don't feel as though they're inventing a story. They feel as though a story has revealed itself. There is also something collective happening here. A single person might doubt their own eyes, but a crowd comparing notes becomes a living machine of interpretation. Screenshots are shared, brightness is adjusted, angles are matched to old candid shots. Each detail becomes a thread, and within minutes those threads braid into conviction. But beneath the detective work is a more emotional motive, hope. Fans want this to be true not because they are hungry for drama, but because they are hungry for reassurance. Reassurance that these 2 people still meet, still share space, still have someone who understands the weight they carry. The speed of belief is not only about evidence. It's about longing. The photo became a mirror where people saw what they had quietly wished for all along. What made this moment explode was not shock in the tabloid sense. It was shock in the human sense. The internet has been trained to flare up over chaos. A rumor, a fight, a public slip. But this photo offered none of that.
No glamour, no provocation, no obvioso Torilini.
Just quiet. And quiet is exactly what felt unbearable to ignore. There is a peculiar irony in celebrity culture. The louder something is, the less it feels meaningful. We see grand events, glowing interviews, rehearsed smiles. Yet the things that stay inside people's chests are usually the small, soft scenes. One gentle glance. One shared silence. One night where nothing is demanded. That's what this campfire suggested. The reaction was intense because the image interrupted an assumption. People assume celebrities are always surrounded by work, by teams, by expectations. They assume privacy has been priced out of their lives. So when the internet sees a picture that looks like a genuine escape, it forces a recalibration. Maybe there are still hours where the world can't reach them. Maybe there are still places where two public figures can be simply two people. In other words, the photo didn't light a scandal. It lit a yearning. It reminded viewers of their own need for rest, their own craving for safe company in a noisy life. That is why the story traveled so far beyond fandom borders. People weren't arguing about guilt or truth. They were responding to a feeling. The feeling that peace is rare, that connection is precious, and that sometimes the most powerful news isn't an explosion, but a quiet fire burning steadily in the dark. Instead of asking only, why were they there? It may be worth asking, what does a night there do to a person? A remote campsite is not just a location. It is a form of medicine. It strips away noise. It reduces life to a few essentials. Warmth, breath, the crackle of wood, the honest rhythm of time passing. A reset night is something ordinary people understand well. When life becomes too tight, we go somewhere that loosens us. Some go to the sea, some to a quiet cafe, some to a long walk. For those whose lives are watched constantly, the need to reset is not a luxury. It is survival. So imagine what a night like this might mean to two men living under relentless attention. Perhaps it was not a dramatic reunion but a practical one. A pause that had to happen. A small act of looking after themselves. They might not have spoken much. They might have laughed softly about nothing. They might have simply listened to the fire and let their nervous system settle. None of that would require a headline, and yet all of it would matter. Seen this way, the photo becomes less about mystery and more about welfare. It invites us to consider the psychological cost of public life. It gently asks, without preaching, when do they get to be small again? When do they get to stop performing? And maybe that is the freshest, kindest reading of the night. Not as a clue to a sensational narrative, but as a simple human reset. A mutually chosen shelter from the world, not to create a story for us, but to step outside the stories that are constantly written around them. A campfire is a humble thing. It is not bright enough to expose you, but warm enough to keep you alive. It gathers people without forcing them to speak. It gives your hands something to do. Hold a cup, warm your fingers, while your heart catches up with itself. So when people saw that fire in the photo, they weren't only seeing a setting. They were seeing a symbol. Healing is the word that keeps appearing in reactions because healing is what fire represents. A soft center in a cold landscape. A pause in the wilderness where you remember your body is not just a tool for work. It is a home for feeling. The mountains in the dark could be anything. Danger, distance, loneliness. But the flame turns them into sanctuary. For fans, this matters on two levels. First, they care about these two individuals and long to see them safe. Not triumphant, not perfect, just safe. Second, they project their own exhausted hearts into the scene. People survive their own pressures, their own invisible schedules, their own emotional winters. So when they witness two public figures quietly receiving warmth, they feel warm too. That is why the photo spreads like comfort. It doesn't demand that we interpret a romance or pick a side. It offers a gentler task to feel, to remember that even people made large by fame still need small refuges. To believe that friendship, understanding, or simply shared humanity can still exist under the crushing weight of public life. Healing, then, is not a fandom fantasy. It is a collective sigh, a moment that let everyone, famous or not, imagine what it might be like to sit near a fire with someone who makes the world feel lighter. Bravery is usually painted in loud colors. Defiance, confrontation, grand speeches. But there is another kind of courage that gets almost no attention. The courage to be unremarkable when the world expects a performance. That is what this moment suggests. Two people sitting quietly, nowhere near a stage, choosing not to manufacture meaning. Just existing. For celebrities, that choice is not simple. Their lives are often measured by visibility. If you are not seen, you are assumed to be absent. If you are not producing a narrative, one will be produced for you. So to step outside that machinery even briefly requires nerve. It means trusting that your worth doesn't vanish when the spotlight does. It means claiming a corner of life that isn't monetized. There is also bravery in sharing silence with another person. Silence is vulnerable. In silence, you cannot hide behind cleverness or image. The way you breathe, the way you sit, the way you hold yourself becomes the whole conversation. To be quiet beside someone implies you trust them with your unguarded self. You trust that they will not demand more than you can give. That is why many viewers felt this scene as something almost sacred. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was honest. It portrayed a kind of strength that is deeply human. The strength to rest, to lean into calm, to accept companionship without needing to justify it. If the photo is real, then what we are glimpsing is not a headline-worthy stunt. It is a quiet refusal to be consumed by noise, a small act of autonomy. And in the current climate of celebrity scrutiny, that autonomy is, in its own silent way, brave. Some stories fade the moment the next trend arrives. This one doesn't because it speaks to something older than the internet. It speaks to the way people carry each other through life, sometimes without words. A campfire photo could have been forgettable. Instead, it became memorable because it told a truth without trying to. Whether or not those silhouettes are exactly who fans think they are, the emotional logic of the scene feels universal. Two people found a pocket of peace. Two people chose the same quiet place at the same time. Two people shared warmth in a world that rarely allows them to be warm in private. That is why audiences keep returning to it. They are not returning for facts. They are returning for meaning. The photo offers a small, stubborn hope that connection can survive pressure, time, distance, and public noise. It suggests that there can be meetings that aren't announced, friendships that don't need PR, comfort that doesn't need explanation. It also leaves space for the viewer. It asks you gently what you feel when you see it. That question matters. In a culture obsessed with certainty and conclusions, this story refuses to close itself. It lets emotion be the destination. It lets viewers sit with their own longing for safety, their own memories of warmth, their own desire to believe that the people they admire are not alone. And perhaps that is the quiet gift of this viral moment. It reminds us that the softest scenes can hold the heaviest meanings. That a little fire in the mountains can illuminate something in millions of hearts. And that sometimes, what keeps us watching isn't the promise of answers, but the comfort of feeling something real.